Good afternoon, Emily.
Okay, thank you. My name is Emily Bachrach, and I live here at the Seasons, and I was very excited to be asked to give a few comments on how I feel senior citizens should be treated. They're not always treated that way, but I wanted to explain that the first thing is the doctors and nurses have to show respect for the patient. They also have to be patient themselves, the different kind of patients, and you all understand that, I'm sure. However, it there are other qualities. When you are lying in bed or something, you have to talk to people. And it's the nurses and doctors that mostly you communicate with. And that is very important. And you've got to be also a patient. Patience, not a patient, but have patience with elderly people. We don't hear all the time. We sometimes forget to put our hearing aids in, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. But anyway, this is to me, this is exciting. I also, um, one thing that I remember very distinctly when my son was 16, and he's now almost 65. So you can do the arithmetic. I was not good in arithmetic. Languages, yes, but not arithmetic. And we went to visit a friend of his who had been in an awful motorcycle accident. And when we went into his room, we were, I had never seen it before. There was a big sign over his bed in big letters, and it said, not his, but his roommate, patient, talk loud, patient is deaf. And I've been in other hospital rooms, young and old, and mostly my mother. Um, Nobody has ever considered the hearing uh, problem that elderly people have. And they don't have to be 90 either.
Well, Emily, you're 93.
Thank you.
And I want to talk a little bit about Emily right now. I'm Amy Rust. I've been Emily's memoir consultant. We've written a book of memoirs. I've been with her for about a year and a half. I've done this in various formats before. However, I've never spent a year and a half with somebody so much fun that I like so much. We've had a great time. You need to know that Emily grew up in Pittsburgh, surrounded by grandparents, parents, and loving uncles, aunts, cousins, and friends. She then went to Cornell, where she graduated in 1942 with a degree in sociology. Shortly thereafter, she married Morton Bachrach, who then went off to World War II. And when he returned, Emily and Morton and their children moved to Philadelphia, where she spent all of her married life until moving to Cincinnati. She brought with her many of her treasures, furniture, uh, other things that mean a lot to her, and she feels just at home here, surrounded by things she loves. I just think everybody wanted to know a little bit about you. The most impressive thing that I have seen in all of this is the outpouring of support and love from her family. We had 7 grandchildren who wrote something to Emily, and this I think is important. Tell them about Red Letter Days.
When the children were in elementary school, once a month they got off at noontime. And at that point, my husband was retired. So I would call, my daughter has 4 children, my son has 3, and those are the 2 that are married. However, um, I wouldn't, if when we did something special, I'd call it a red letter day. And I'd mention it now that I'm at the Seasons. If I mentioned Red Letter Day, people would look at me like, well, where did she escape from? So I thought it was just universal. I didn't invent it, but nobody seems to know. It's a special day that my husband and I, or just one of us, would spend with the children. They got off in elementary school at noon, so I would call Richard and I would say, Richard, you make the peanut butter sandwiches and I'll bring the brownies, because I became known as the brownie queen here. I never made brownies in my life, but when I moved here, oh, I'll try it. So now I'm the brownie lady. And that was, we went to the zoo. In fact, people in Cincinnati know Bill Donaldson, and he loved animals, and he moved to Philadelphia, which was the oldest zoo in the country. And every time I did something with the children, I would say, well, what did you like? What impressed you the most? And my granddaughter liked the spectacle bears. They're big, big thing, and the big round circles like a raccoon. So she says, oh, she liked the spectacle bears because there was a big stuffed spectacle bear on the grounds. And then I said to Michael, the oldest grandson, I says, Michael, what did you like the best? Oh, I like Mr. Donaldson. And I thought, oh, he's going to be a politician.
Michael, incidentally, lives in Philadelphia still today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was it.
I have to say, I ask each of the 7 grandchildren to email me their impressions of Red Letter Days, and down to the last one, we got lovely notes, and they're in the book. Danny, we're sending you a book, and you can share with the class.
That's right.
Tell what overall, Emily, what did this experience mean to you in writing your memoirs?
I've been talking about it for a number of years, and you were the impetus, and you had the patience to say, I'll be over next week. A year and a half. Amy was my Tuesday guest, and I couldn't have put the book together the way she did, and terrific. One picture was enlarged of our wedding day for a 50th anniversary party. But I couldn't have placed it just perfectly like Amy did. So it was a combination.
Well, actually, Amy did not do that. Her 16-year-old grandson did it for her. So it does take a village to get this done.
Yeah, it did. But I'm very pleased with it. And my grandson said, I told him about the taping, and he said, well, I'll give you some advice. So I thought, okay, what is your advice? Only talk in sentences of 7 words. I thought, I can't talk in just 7 words. I have to talk longer. So that's one of our joking laughing modes. But I enjoyed it, and now at least I started it, and I brought it to fruition with Amy's help.
And
And Jim is the one who connected me with Amy. So I guess you started it all. No, this was a project at the Seasons. They took 16 senior citizens, male and female, and paired them with students, graduate students. And the idea was that the graduate students learn how to interview people and what kind of questions to ask. So this girl was just darling. I enjoyed working with her. However, from our conversations, she got the impression, which was true, that Jennifer, Janice's only daughter, was my favorite. Well, you don't put that, and she gave me, and I thought it was the first draft. It was the final draft. And I thought, you don't write that when you have 13 grandchildren. You single Jennifer out. So I said something to Richard, who is a professional stand-up comedian. I've never heard him because in the beginning they didn't want me to hear him. And anyway, that was the story. So I thought, I'm not publishing something that says, as you all know, Jennifer is Emily's favorite. I wouldn't hurt all the others. So when I said something to Richard, he says, well, of course we all know she's the favorite. So that was it.
Well, I think the message there is be sensitive to who might be reading your memoirs.
Yeah. But it was a great time. And then now my cousin in Cleveland and on the Oberndorf side and my cousin on the Jacobs side, because my mother was Marie Oberndorf and my father was Nathan Byrne Jacobs. And unfortunately they couldn't really know many of my grandchildren. The one people say about Micah Bachrach, he has a God-given talent at playing the piano. And it was my father that took me to my first concerts. And through him, I learned to appreciate music.
You didn't add that these cousins that Emily is talking about, we're starting on our book 2 of memoirs, especially for the cousins, who incidentally may be one of your neighbors in Shaker Heights, Danny. That's where her cousin lives.
Edward Oberndorf. And his wife's name was Caroline Gleason.
You might want to tell everybody that you entertained us all with a brunch to celebrate the book.
Well, we had outside help. Jim and the McCoys.
No, the McCords. Mary McCord, Mary Purcell.
Yeah.
And my grandson Justin.
And you.
Yes.
And my granddaughter. We didn't pass out the books until after the food was eaten because we didn't want sticky fingers on a brand new book. So my granddaughter was there and she started to, and she ran over to me. She said, Nanny, this is the most fabulous book I've ever read. And I thought, well, I'm glad. And each of them have a book. And I didn't tell you that I was talking to a rabbi friend of ours. He was the assistant to Bert Korn at Knesset Israel in Philadelphia. And I had asked the rabbi here that when I passed away, would he conduct a service? Well, that was 9 years ago. And I have yet to have him make one little phone call saying, how are you? I could have died, come back to Earth, and died again, and he still wouldn't care what